Everything's up.
Can I go sideways, or do you want me portrait? Doesn't matter.
Does not matter. Whatever one you can do the easiest.
All right. We'll do. See if I can get that to stand up, and we'll do that. There we go. How's that? That work?
Perfect. Okay, it says we're live. Okay, good. So let's just jump on into this. So how'd you get into derbying?
Well, how did my wife get into derbying? That's the better question. So me and my wife back in the day, I didn't even know how to change oil in a car. So me and my wife went to a county fair one day and saw this demolition derby craziness going on at the fair, stopped to watch it. And my best man of my wedding crawled out of one of the cars. Never knew he did it. My wife being the, what's the word I want? The one who wants to try everything turned to him and said, I want to do it. And the next day he dropped off a 75 Buick at my house, and she drove for the first year. I built her, I don't know, 2 or 3 cars. Well, he built her. I kind of stripped cars because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And then I said, this looks like too much fun. I better start doing it. And then from year 2 on, me and her drove for the next, 16 years. We probably drove 18 shows a year for all that time. And then the kids got up and grown up, and we got them going in it. And now I'm done. My wife's done. My son's still doing it, but my daughter's done also. But yeah, so we've been doing this for 25-ish years. Had a late start, but I'm sure we made up for it.
How old were you when you first started?
22. So that's a late start for most derby guys.
Well, I started when I was 10.
Yeah, that's how when my son started. So,
going off of that, what was your first car? I know her first car was obviously that, but what was your first car?
Football window Ford. Back then, they were nothing.
Huh. Well,
first derby I drove in. Learned the lesson the hard way. Took that car. We were doing a monster truck show, like a filler heated a monster truck show, and all excited. Me and my friends giving me crap because I don't know what I was doing, and went to start the car to go into the heat. And this is way before your time. So this was keys in the ignition, and my key was gone. It fell through the floorboard through the shifter hole. And so my first derby was a no-go.
Oh.
Then we found the key, started it up, took it to the next show, drove it in the next show. I think I got 2 shows out of that one, but that's kind of my hard luck first time derbying show.
So when you guys derby, do you guys do it as like pretty strong as a family before you and your wife retired?
Yeah, the kids were young, so every weekend was started. We probably only did it by ourselves for 3 or 4 years that we only derbied. Then we started promoting after that. We started promoting in 1999. Then we, me and Gummy kind of hooked up and started stirring dirt in 2000. And from then on, we were pumping out shows, promoting shows. I think our biggest year, we were promoting 16 shows a year for a couple of years, and we've calmed down and we only do 7 shows a year now, and are looking at doing some crazy stuff coming up, but we'll see how that goes. Stuff like we did in Vegas. And so
since you've been promoting derbies out there out west for so long, how much has everything changed since you guys started? How has the sport changed and developed?
The difference is, first I met, I don't know, do you know Tori Schutte?
Yes.
Okay, so me and Tori hooked up, and he came out to my show to help us on our first big Hot Rock and Fourth show. So back then, we offered $5,000 to win in 2000. That was like unheard of anywhere. You know, shows were paying $500 to win, $1,000 to win was probably your biggest thing you had going. We offered $5,000 to win on the show, and everybody wanted to come. So it was so big, we kind of got overwhelmed. And Tori'd been doing it forever, and we hooked up, and he came out and helped us inspect and put it on and stuff. And the differences were, I told Tori, says, well, let's help each other, because I've gone back to his shows. Back east, you have a lot of drivers. One of the reasons you have a lot of drivers is out here, Utah is 7 hours from top to bottom. Back east, you could be in 5 states in 7 hours. So you get a lot more cross-border participation. But what I noticed is your guys' shows back there were predominantly drivers, families, pit crew, stuff like that. Wasn't a lot of big crowds. Out here, we didn't have a lot of cars. You know, a big show for us is 50, 60 cars. And even back then was 50, 60 cars. But our crowds are 10,000 strong, 5,000 strong. Our crowds don't know a lot about derbies. You know, they have a hard time figuring out a bumper from a tire. Where back there, those guys are very into it. They know the cars, they know the builds, they know everything about them. And I think the biggest difference I saw is I think it was the second year I went back to Tori's Metal Mayhem show, and it was raining. There was tornadoes. It was just miserable. I think there was 2 foot of water in the arena, flood coming in the doors. And your crowd sat there through it all. They didn't care. They just wanted to watch the cars because they're that into it. Out here, we won't even have anyone show up because they just want to see the cars wreck. And if it's not hot and sunny and fun, they don't care. So that's the biggest difference between the twos. Is in my mind is the crowd participation on our end. Skinny always used to call me the Barnum and Bailey of what goes on, because we do so much for the crowd, and we're so into the crowd to keep them entertained. Because our philosophy was really a 3-hour show. Your mind can only take what your butt can endure. So we try to figure, you know, movies about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So we try to stay in that time frame. So, you know, for example, we did Halloween Havoc last year. It's our year-end show. 140 cars. We did that in 4 hours. That was 11 heats in 4 hours.
How did you manage that?
Well, I'm a little ADHD, so I'm very organized, and I have a fantastic crew. You know, there's 30 of my crew that we've been doing it for, you know, my crew's been together for almost 20 years. So we just know what we do and how to do it, and we just in and out and clean it out, because we know if we don't, the crowd's going to leave, and we don't want that to happen. So the other biggest difference is our heats out here are 15, maybe 20 minutes long. Back east, you've got some of those heats an hour, 2 hours. I've seen some of them shut down and start again the next day. Our crowd would not stand for that. It's just not indicative of what they want to see out here. So we cater to the crowd a lot more. The drivers cater to the crowd. I don't know if they always say Utah, out west, Nevada, Wyoming, Montana are the hardest hitters out there. I don't know if they're the hardest hitters, because it's a different mindset and a different philosophy. When you're only going to last 15 minutes, you are going to get on it and get after it. If you know you're going to be driving for an hour and a half, you're going to slow it down, and you're going to pace yourself to do it. I drove back east in some of those long shows, and I think I hit the hour mark, and I got bored. As a driver, I got bored. and I turned on and just junked my car on somebody. I'm like, I'll get out and go drink beer and have some fun. It's just a different mentality to drive that type of a show back there. The builds are exquisite back east. You know, those guys, they build stuff that just rivals some architecture. I mean, they're just into it. Our guys, we're a car every weekend. I'm not sure how it is back there, but in Utah, we'll have up to 5 shows on a weekend in one state. And then you take some of the border states that are close enough, and we could have 6-7 shows in a weekend. So that divides up the crowd or the car count quite a bit. And it's just a different theory mentality. A lot of the guys like their hometown shows, and they won't drive anything else but their hometown show. So it's not good, it's not bad, it's not right, it's wrong. It's just a different mentality of how you have to drive when you're out here, because it's fast paced, not just the heats, but you're in, you're out. You got 30 minutes to fix your car and you're in the heat again. It's just crazy.
So you got 30 minutes to fix your car for the feature, and that's it. And considering with how them guys drive, that's crazy.
It is very crazy. We've actually changed some of our rules this year because we allow fix-it plates. I'm not sure how they do it back east on some of the shows. Fix-it plates in the past were you never ever welded on your car. You took a fresh car to a show, and if it was standing nose up above the carburetor, you did your best to pull it down, and you went back and you ran. There was no structure adding, no welding. If anything, you were cutting stuff off and running without it. And hoping for the best. So that's old school back in the day stuff. And we started adding plates about probably 15 years ago. And that's helped. Cars are more expensive, so we're sensitive to that. And we try and make them last longer and go on. One of Stern Dirt's philosophies is we get a lot of drivers from out of state that drive other places that just want to come here because, number one, we pay so well. We're I think last year, what did we give away? I want to say like $400,000 in prize money in our shows. It's just silly. So guys want to come out and drive that. And so our rules aren't the heaviest build, because one of the things as a driver, I didn't like building a car to a show that was so solid or so strong or so built that it didn't comply to the rules where I lived. You can drive that. Like if I go to Blizzard Bash and build a Blizzard Bash car, which are fantastic builds, that's the only place I can drive it. I would bring it home and either strip it or mothball it because I can't do anything with it. Because all of the shows around here, from Montana to Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, we all predominantly run the same set of rules. And again, the philosophy comes in. We get a lot of young kids like you. We've got a lot of the blue collar guys that don't have $20,000 to spend on parts and welding and steel and everything. I mean, I built a car last year and it was $1,000 just for cage material. If you don't have a hookup, you're just, you're screwed.
Pretty much.
So we knowing that you're going to come here, we want you to at least have a car that you can take home and either add to it or run it as is, because the build is a more mild weld. We call it a limited weld, which is back your way is more of a stock class weld car. So it's not crazy. We allow lower half cradles. We don't allow tranny braces. We allow the fortified rear ends. So you can build a really good car for what it is. And it's actually nice because, if you're only into your car a couple $1,000 and you can win 10, that's a hell of a lot better than being into it 30 and winning 1,000.
Yeah, it's the only time I've ever made any money derbying is when I bought a car for $5,000 and won 10. Other than that, I've never made a dime.
And it's hard, especially out there when you're running against a couple 300 cars. That's your car counts are just ridiculous still. We fight. A good show for us is 20, on average. Us as Stern Dirt, we still average 60, 70. But that has a lot to do with my crew and inspections and money and how we run things. And it just, it's what we do to try and make it good for the driver, a good experience for the driver. We did most of our shows pay you to pass inspection. So this show we just signed up for Dixie. We've got 35 two-man teams. The first 20 get $1,000 for passing inspection. So most of our shows are geared towards that. We had a little hiccup. We normally wouldn't have taken 25. Or 35. We only would have taken a little over 20 cars or 20 teams. Again, that mindset is really on about time frame. We've got 3 hours to do a show because most of our stuff is county fairs. The fairs want the people back in, buying hot dogs and hamburgers and doing fair stuff. So they put us on a time limit. So car count for us isn't as critical to have. We don't need 150 cars. We just need 30 cars to have a show. And then depending on what we're doing and how we run it, we can usually run 50, 60 cars in 3 hours, no problem.
Like around here, for especially like the fair cars, like if the promoter puts out more than like if a promoter puts out $2,000 for a fair show around here for just one class, like that, they expect that to get 40 cars, and they really care about the car counts around here, which is, I find that really strange how you guys out there in Utah are like, you like less, like Gumby said it plain out, like you guys like the less cars because it's easier to do the show, but around here, these guys love the high car counts.
It's high car count is stressful. So it really depends on where you want to be in your life. I'm old, so I like it as easy as I can get it. But here's so the two-man team derby with 35 teams, which means we'll probably have 5 drop out because life happens and they won't make it. So on 30 teams, so 60 cars, top 20 will get $1,000. First place is paying $14,000. Second place is $7,000 and $3,500 for third place. B main is $7,000, $3,500, and $1,750. And we just added a C main that's going to pay $4,000, $2,000, $1,000.
What's the C main?
Because we had a snafu with our signups. It actually, there's so many guys that wanted in, they crashed the server. By the time we got it up and running and got it figured out, we shut it down, and when it self-populated itself when the computer was going, I don't know any of that crap. We had 35 teams signed up, and me and Gummy just said, you know what? Because we had an issue, let's just take them all. Because we were going to cap it at 28. And to do that, in order to do how we had to run and the flow of the show, we added a C main. So basically, 2 teams out of each heat, we'll do 5 heats, 2 teams out of each heat will be in A main, and then third and fourth place will be in B main, and then anyone left over goes in the C main.
So where did you guys get the idea to do that 2-man team show out there?
After going back and watching Blizzard Bash, unless you're a high-profile show like one of those, to do a one-day 5-man team show, because all of our shows are one day, just feasibly doesn't work. It just the best way to do it. What was Gold Rush? I think finally found the right way to do a 5-man or 4-man team format, and you just can't do that at a county fair show, and all of ours are county fair shows. The 2-man, though, so when you get down to a 2-man or a single day show, if you're running a 4-man, someone drops out. Someone has a baby, someone loses their job. you more often than not, 2 guys don't show. And then all of a sudden if you've got 40 4-man teams signed up, now you're down to 20 because they couldn't make it. 3-man, kind of the same problem. And you still have the problem of a 1-day show with 3-man. 2-man, everybody has a brother, cousin, father, uncle. And if me and you are going and I get hurt, it's very easy. My car's already built. I can throw someone in it. It doesn't really affect. It's a lot easier to fill that shorthandedness on a 2-man team show.
I get what you're saying there.
So, is it great? Is it perfect? No, but it works for what we do and what we need to accomplish. And most guys drive as a 2-man team anyways. Now you just throw in team rules into the show versus a single show and say, don't team drive, So now we don't care about it. And the way we're setting it up, it's still going to, because there'll be six teams in a heat. If only 2 are advancing, you really can't team up with a lot of guys. You can, 4 of you can, but it's pretty good odds one of you is getting knocked out.
Which that's the one thing I hate about team shows. You run team shows not to deal with politics, and you go there, and it's just like regular derby, and just with bigger groups.
Yeah, exactly.
Which that's the one thing I hate about derbying the most is the amount of politics involved in it.
Yeah, and you asked what's changed over the years. The best thing Stir and Dirt did was it increased the prize pool across the nation. We started it at $5,000, and now it's stupid money in a lot of places, and we take the credit for that. But then it's also a bad thing because money, as it does with everything, changes the way people drive, the way people act, and everything that goes along with it. Back in the day when you ran for $500 and you could build a car for $100, no one cared. It was just fun. It was just how going to do it. And as the parts came along and the money came along and all that stuff, it just changes a lot of personalities and attitudes, not for the good in a lot of cases. There's still a lot of great guys out there, and I got friends across the nation that I just love and adore, but it has changed the philosophy and how people drive.
Yeah, it's definitely it's weird how you mentioned that, like the amount of money that's changed the derby world. Like I go to a county fair, and those guys are more angry and more passionate than the guys that run big shows on the regular. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing I cannot understand. But
and you never will. I mean, it's just I've seen a lot of them, because we've traveled all over the country, just not even driving, just going to shows to check them out and talk to guys and drivers and hopefully get them to come out here. And it depends where you go and what they're driving for. I mean, I've seen some of those $1,000 payout shows just be ugly with fist fights, and you're just like, guys, come on. It's just derbying. At the end of the day, it's just derbying.
Dude, people, go ahead.
On the side of, being on the promoter side and the driver, as a driver, the hardest thing to separate is always, I tell the drivers, you're going to get a bad call. But karma is a karma. Next show, you're going to get a good call. Things are going to ebb and flow as you go. And I'm a firm believer in, if you go with the flow and accept what happens, yeah, you can be bad and stuff. But if you say that, I think the karma rolls back to you a lot faster. Positive attitude, creates a thing. So,
like I've been to shows when it's like you can just tell, them county fairs that you go to, and it's just like the local boys. They're just like they're there, and they're like a prison gang. It's either like, we're local boys, this is where we're from. Get out of here! Don't even look at us. And it's like those are the people that I think are the most passionate about derbying. Because I can go there, like they're more passionate than I am when I go to like the biggest shows in the country.
There was a show back in Idaho I went to, and me and my buddy went to a big show. And at that time, they were pulling 100 cars, but 100 cars, but they were all locals, all from the same city. And we took first and second place. And they said the police came up to us, says, are you leaving town? If not, you better get a hotel somewhere else. And I'm like, okay, thank you very much. So we packed up, drove a couple cities away, stayed the night. Next year, me and my buddies from Salt Lake, we took 7 Imperials up there, took first through 7th place. They literally said, here's your check, don't ever come back. Here's your check, don't ever come back. And I'm like, that is not a way to promote your show. And it was funny because the third year they called Stir and Dirt and says, hey, would you mind coming up and helping us, teach us how to inspect and rules and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know who I am, right? You kicked me out of your show twice or your city twice. Says, yeah, we know, and we got to fix that. So we went up and helped them for a couple, 3 years, and now we partner up quite a bit on doing some cross promotions and stuff. So again, the Karma thing came back around, and it's been a good friendship since then.
That's exactly like how there's 2 shows down in Southern Ohio where Mark Elliott.
Yep, very well.
It's Preble and Butler. I've been to a lot of shows this year. Don't get me wrong. I don't know what it is, but that area right there they are the most passionate group of local guys I've ever met in my entire life. I went down there with TJ from Deadman and Kyle Baker. Okay, we were not liked at all, and like. You would think after you go there and you realize you're not liked by the locals the first time, you'd figure you learned your lesson. You didn't have a good experience. But what do? I go back. I go back to the second weekend. Should not have done that. I was getting hit 7 times at once in a stock car that was already junk.
I've been at those shows.
That's like. I got hit. After that happened, I was like, you know what, boys? We're good. Like, this is fun. Not worth it, you guys. Have fun. I'm going to go get a funnel cake and leave, you guys. No, thank you. So how many stories do you got like that from driving back in the day?
Oh, my God. So, you know Scooter from the TV show? So me and him are brothers. We're best friends. And before he was my best friend, the guy I told you about that was my best man, who's no longer my best friend. Yeah, one of the reasons I think we were doing a derby up in, where were we? Morgan, Utah, I think it was. And I'd probably been derbying for a whole year, maybe 2 years. And I'm just hey, if it's on my truck and you need a part, take it. I don't care. I want to beat you in the arena. I don't want to see you not make it, right? And Scooter and my buddy were rivals, real bad rivals. And so I'm his pit crew, and we're doing stuff. And then Scooter's over there, and he needed this and he needed that. So I'm just grabbing stuff out of the truck and taking it over to him. And I really didn't know him that well at the time. And my buddy got so pissed at me. And I think that was the start of the end of our relationship. But it turned out good because Scooter's my best friend. I consider his kids my kids, and it just turned out to be a great thing. I've been to. We did a show up in Little Podunk, Idaho. Have you ever seen a radiator on a roof?
I have once. Yes.
So this derby recommends that you do that. So all the locals had all these big double TP'd radiators on their roofs, hoses and all this crap. And there was only 20 cars, and they said it's going to be, there'll be fireworks tonight. I said, well, 20 cars. I mean, what are we going to do? Hang around for 3 hours? Says, oh no, we won't get done till probably 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, there's 20 cars. What are you talking about? So we go out in the arena. We're not knowing, and it's pretty podunk. I mean, it was a one of them kind of shows. But all these cars, Imperials included, had all these radiators on the roof. We pull in, and the arena was so muddy you could hardly move. Me and I think it was Tripler got in there, and we took care of everybody, knocked everybody out. We're done. We're like, all right, pull up to the gate, getting ready to leave. And they go, oh no, back up. What do you mean back up? We got to knock everyone loose. You what? So 20 cars, heats for an hour and a half in a mud pit, burning up transmissions, burning up motors. But as we're sitting there, I'm turning to the officials. They'd stop it. Every time they'd stop it, I'd look it over to these guys there, and these water radiators are just boiling. I mean, just, coming on. I'm like, you better get that guy out of the car. He's going to get burned. Turns out 3rd-degree burns, the radiator blows up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, how can you do that? So, and then it ended up being, 1 o'clock in the morning, we finished, and all these radiators were blowing up. Guys were getting burned. And I'm like, how do you not see that stuff? Now, I ended up thinking it was one of my buddy took first. I took second. And, but the car wasn't out unless you broke the car. If it was stuck, they would unstick it. I'm like, that was one of the craziest shows I've ever been in.
So how long did the heat last?
Probably at least an hour to an hour and a half. Because, like I said, they would just shut it down, bring in backhoes, but the backhoe's going to move because that's how muddy it was. And they pick guys out of the mud, set them up, pull them off the wall, set them up. So unless you broke their axle or broke a front end so they couldn't move, it just went on and on and on.
So
yeah.
I figured did anybody run out of gas or anything like that?
No, you were all stuck, so you couldn't go nowhere. You just sat there idling until somebody would come and bump you. And, if you've been in that kind of arena, you never really got hurt because it was so muddy. So you're just waiting for a bump hit. That was crazy going.
So did you guys end up going back there later on, or anything like that?
Never again. Never again.
That's super. So why do you think they made them put the radiators on the roof?
Safety. That's how they made their cars run longer, because their radiators weren't in the front to get destroyed, so they would be a safer car and it would run longer. And I'm like, nah, because back in the day we used to put our radiators in the back seat. This was back in 2000, 2001-ish. That was an experiment, but then you'd lean over and you'd get, arms would get burned because the hoses are right here next to you, and that turned out to be a short-lived experiment.
So, what's your favorite build of all time? Like, what's your favorite car to build, or favorite build you've ever done, or something, or anything along them lines?
I'm a simple guy. I like, my favorite car is a 74 Buick. And I'm lazy, so I like easy builds. So that's kind of what we grew up with out here. So the limited weld stuff. I've done heavy builds, and to me, it's not fun. I like building, but I like building at my pace, and I know it's going to take me 2 weeks to build a car. I don't want to sit there and build a car for 3 months and 4 months and just weld after weld after weld. I talk to my buddies, and I just go. I look at the cars. I'm going, Jesus. Number one, I'm cheap. Number two, I'm lazy. I had a friend that was buying stainless steel wire for his MiG. And welding, he actually built me a car. I did a 2-man team show, was it 2-man? No, it was a 4-man team show up in Canada, and he built it. And he pushes, we'll just say he pushes the envelope a little bit, right? So I get up there, and my acetylene tanks were empty. Didn't grab the right ones. They say, "Oh, you need to cut this. You need to cut that." Well, no tanks. All the Canada tanks don't fit my gauges. So I finally talked to some guys into borrowing some tanks. You ever tried cutting stainless steel? It doesn't cut. So I'm trying to cut welds off the frame, and I'm just like, dude, I'll have to blow holes in the frame rail because there's just no way this is going to happen.
So what did you end up doing? Or...
Sweet talked them. Did the politicking. Yep. I just drove 20 hours to get up here. Oh, I mean, we did that trip twice, and both of them were just. So the day that they went to buy my car, so I didn't have a car to build because my buddy was building it up in Idaho, which is 4 hours away. So we are just going to pick it up and keep going to Canada. I called Gumby. Gumby, you need any help building? Gumby is the worst procrastinator there is. You need help? Nope. I got it. Are you sure? I'm not doing anything. Nope. I've got it. I'll get it done. We have, when you're traveling to a big show and it's, 25 hours away, you have a game plan. You have a time frame. You have to do this. So we're supposed to leave first thing Friday morning or Thursday morning. No, it's Friday morning. And Gumby finally showed up at noon. So we're already 6 hours behind. So we're jumping on the road. Great. Stop at Pocatello. Stop by Dave's house. Grab the car. We pull into Dave's shop, and my buddy goes, "Oh, look, there's your front clip sitting on the ground." I'm like, "No, it's not." Sure as shit, he hadn't welded the clip on yet. Cage wasn't done. He was just working on the drive line. And I'm like, "Oh, my God." So there was a 4-man team, so we had 8 guys that with us. So we hammer out this car. We don't leave until 8 o'clock at night. We are driving all night long. We hit the border going through the port, passports and all that stuff. And the one guy that's with us has a domestic. He can't cross the border. Can't do it until the next day when the boss comes in. So we have to get a hotel on the border. Talk to then we have to go through the Canadian police. This domestic was like 20 years ago. It was like way off record. So Gumby, you get to stay with him. We're going to the Derby. Hopefully you make it. So we take off in the morning. Gumby stays there with him to get him through customs. We hit the Derby. I don't know, 2.5 hours later, Gumby finally shows up to the Derby. We're all getting inspected. Gumby jumps in his car to start it. Motor seizes. This is just not a good trip. It was just like, oh my God.
So how'd the rest of the Derby play out?
We walked through the heat, we are in the main event, and the typical local, since there's only 3 of us, and there was 4 4-man teams, I believe it was 3 or 4 4-man teams. They just game planned it. They didn't hit anybody but us until we were done. So that one did not end up well.
So how did you meet Gumby?
He's just one of the drivers, and he was promoting a show in Salt Lake, and I was promoting one that's Hot Rockin' Forth, and we were just drivers that knew each other, and we just turned to each other one day and says, I'm tired of running for $500. This is how our $5,000 idea came up. $500 to $1,000, and does the check bounce? Because back then checks bounced a lot. Didn't like the way they were being run. We didn't, it was just really poor running shows way back then, and we just took it over. I'm a businessman, and we just ran it like a business versus a derby, and it just really took off. And me and Gumby were a great yin and a yang. I'm all business savvy and anal retentive and all that kind of fun stuff, and he's a happy-go-lucky. He does everything the day of and handles all the problems the day of. I get everything up to the day of, and then I turn it over to him. So
how many times have that caused some tension between you guys?
Not really. I says we're a great yin and yang. Gumby's the most easygoing, kickback guy you'd ever want to meet. I think I've seen him mad once, in all the years I've known him. So he just has a great philosophy. It is what it is, and I've grown a lot because of that. And my attitude and my moods have changed, and even the drivers have said that. He said, you're just so. I'd just be, so at a derby, I'm like, oh, it's not going right. We're 10 minutes behind schedule. Damn it. Let's go. And Gummy's just like, calm down. We're fine. And in the last probably 5 years, my whole attitude's completely changed. And a lot of that's due to him. So
where do you see the sport of demolition derby going?
I think in some way, shape, or form, it'll always be there. I mean, there's still a ton of cars out there, although they're being monopolized by a lot of guys. And, it's another thing. We had 400 cars that we bought for, $50 to, $400 back in the day. And to pay I would never pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for a rolling shell anymore. I mean, that's just silly to me to do that. I think it's evolving to, we're in the 80s stuff, in the 2000s, the Crown Vics and all that are going to be around. There's a lot of taxis out there. So I think those will be out there. I think what's changing, though, is with all the stuff being made, the ingenuity to, back in the day, you took a car that was straight up stock drive line, stock everything, and you had to fix it. Now nothing breaks because everything is, supersized and extra strong. And, it's, one of our rules is, it's guy approached us, why don't you do a full wheel center? I said, it's because it's the last thing that'll take a car out anymore. So we only allow an 8-inch wheel center, so at least the wheels will bend and pop. Let's do it, because again, you're back to that crowd philosophy. Crowd wants to see stuff blow up and crash and bend and do all that stuff, and you get to those heavy outlaw stuff, and they just bounce off each other. The crowd doesn't like that, so we're mindful of that. But yeah, I think it'll be around. It'll be around for some years. I don't know. There's not a lot of you out there. The youth is not crazy. They're on their phones and doing video games, and that's probably the biggest thing that's going to hurt us, because you probably see it out there. You got to be one of the youngest ones out in your area. Most of the guys I'm seeing are in their 40s and 50s now. It don't heal any faster. It hurts a lot longer the older you get.
Yeah, everybody makes fun of me because I say this, but I forget, it was last year. I'm sitting in English class the one day, and I'm just like, I think it was a weekend after like a big show or something. It was a week after a big show. I forget what it was exactly, but all I remember is my back was just killing me, and I was like, well, derby driving's pretty cool. Can't wait to feel like this for the rest of my life.
Sorry, I'm trying to plug in my phone here.
Oh, you're all good.
For some reason, it doesn't want to charge.
I don't know. So, do you think all these promoters and all these guys, well, you're a promoter too, do you think there's a chance of everybody coming together and making the sport like dirt track or NASCAR or anything like that?
No. The areas are too significantly different. We achieved, are you talking like a universal set of rules and standards?
Yeah, all that stuff.
I think in a way you could, if enough promoters got together across the country, and I'm working with Frankie Guy, him and the Smith group with the youth championships they're doing. We've talked about trying to do a nationwide points race or some kind of something like that. But even then, it came out to my points race are based on limited weld rules. His points race is on a weld rule. How do you combine that at a end of year function where I don't want to build a Blizzard Bash car, even though I may be the points champion out west, but I don't want to build that kind of a car personally to go do that. And on the same token, those guys who build those cars don't want to downsize because that's what they're used to. Regionally, I think you can, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, some of Arizona, we run the same rules, probably 80%, 85%. So that's a lot of, again, you're talking states that it takes you 7 to 10 hours to drive across. That's a pretty good swath of the West Coast or the Midwest that's running the same set of rules. When we were at our biggest, when we were promoting 16 shows a year, we kind of controlled everything. So everyone ran our show. So if you didn't run our rules as a different promoter, the cars wouldn't come to you because they're not built to you. Yeah. So a lot of them came over to us, and it's one thing to build a set of rules. But if you're a promoter and I'm a promoter and I got my set of rules and you want to get my drivers to your show, or I want to get your drivers, I may give you something such as an additional plate or something that's bolt on that I can take off so I can go to your show next week. And all I have to do, I don't want to weld a 20-inch plate on my front bumper if I'm only allowing 10. Cutting off a plate doesn't work. But if I can do something that, all right, you want a rear end, great. Maybe I'll add the rear end to my show because that's something you can unbolt, put in a stock rear end, put in a heavy rear end, change a bracket here, add a weld here. As long as it's minor enough that you can cut it off, change it, unbolt it. Those are changes that we see out here in our rules. Or like I just said, you may allow a full wheel center. I don't.
Yeah.
That's easy stuff to fix and change.
So why do you think that you guys are so? Why do you think the West has been able to get somewhat like similar rule sets when like in the surrounding states around Ohio, it's completely different? Like,
I think it's money. It's the guys, it's a working class. Well, everybody's working class, so I shouldn't say that. But out here, there's less of it, so guys cater to the lighter build. A lot of individual businessmen, self-employed, or a lot of unemployed, as are there everywhere. But there's not a lot. When we started the 80s and newer wire class, what are we going on our 5th year now? We have had such a shift of drivers move over to that class for that very reason. I can build it simply. It's cheap. I can run longer. I can find the car cheaper. It's just easier for them to do that versus $10,000 motor, $10,000 rear end, $6,000 cradles, so on and so forth. It's just small town because a lot of our stuff out here is small town. Our biggest city is Salt Lake City, and that's only got 1 million people in it. Your suburbs got 1 million people in it.
Yeah. So how many promoters are there out there by you guys? Like, how many surrounding promoters are there?
We're the biggest. Then there's a couple guys that do only one show a year. Then we have some of the fairs that are still run by the fire department or the JCs or the local groups like that. In Utah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 promoters. maybe 5. I would say more 4, and then the rest are done by fire departments and JCs and stuff like that.
So why do you think, like, because out here there's, gosh, I couldn't even tell you. There's countless promoters. Like off the top of my head, I can name Smash It, Hardcore, Dead Man, Full Send, Derby Dog, and that's just the ones off the top of my head. Why do you think there's so many more promoters out here than there is out there?
I don't know, because it's a thankless job. I wish every driver could promote a show and inspect a show, because then life would be a lot easier for us anyways. I don't know. There's not a lot of money in it. It's definitely there's days that I'm ready just to hang it up. I mean, of all the promoters in the nation, we're on our 23rd year. I think the next closest one may be 7 years, and I think that might be Smash It.
Yeah, they've been doing it for, I think they something along them line. I don't know if it was 20 or what the number was, but it was high like that.
They're like 10 years or something like that, because they came on when Tori got out of it. But it's, why is there more? You got more shows, you got more fairs. Yeah, you need. Some aren't true promoters either. They're just, the ones that you named are all big and great promoters, but you get a lot of ones that, hey Billy, will you put on our show for our fair? And they slap a name on it as, Billy Bob's Derby, and all of a sudden they're a big promoter, and so the big ones are good. The big ones know what it takes. You got the Sam Williams group out there. And everyone that you mentioned. You have Frankie, and you got Siopa's group. You got to be passionate about it to do it, because, like I said, it's thankless. It's hard. And I'll be 60. I'm ready to go on a boat. So I just came for him. You saw my fish.
So what do you think makes it such a thankless job?
Because you will never be right. You'll never be. Anything you do is whether it's rules, a call. Don't get me wrong. If you got 100 drivers at a show, 95 of them are going to be happy and thrilled with the way the show went. I take it too personally, probably, and those couple drivers that just. I'm from the food business. I was a Burger King franchisee, so customer service is bred into me.
Huh. So wait, is that what you do for a living? Your own Burger Kings, or like how's
that? I did, yes.
So why'd you get out of the King business?
Employees. There are none.
Well, I could see that.
I actually lucked out, and I got out in November of 2018 is when I sold out, and COVID hit in February of 19. So I was lucky.
Well, so what are you doing now?
Retired.
Oh, hell yeah.
Other than stirring dirt, I don't do nothing.
Stirring dirt and catching big fish.
And catching big fish. A delicious big fish.
So is that like one of your big hobbies, derbying and
Nope.
fishing?
Nope, never been fishing in my life.
What?
That was my first fish. Deep sea fishing. I've been fishing, but not deep sea fishing.
So what made you go deep sea fishing if you've never been?
My buddy, we went down on vacation down there, and he said, "Let's go. I want to catch a marlin." I'm like, "All right." So it wasn't marlin season; it was Dorado season. So caught me a Dorado.
That's awesome. So how what's it like reeling in something that big? I've never ever done anything like that.
I don't know. For me, it was I did my arm last summer. I ripped my muscle off my bone, cut the tendon. So my arm is just now getting back to where it needs to be. So when you're doing this and your arm's going, no, you can't do that. It was kind of a pain in the ass, to be honest with you.
How long did it take you to get the fish in the boat?
Probably 20 minutes. It was about a 40-pounder. It's not a marlin by any means, but it was good fighting fish. But for never doing it before, it's a lot of work.
That's awesome. So have you ever done like big game hunting or anything like that out in Utah?
I used to. That's what Scooter and buddy that I went fishing with, they're all into the big game hunting stuff. I got out of it years ago. Went on the mountain one day and there was more orange shirts than deer, and I went, yeah, this isn't fun anymore. And nobody ate the meat, so if you get a deer, what do you do with it?
Why don't you guys eat the meat?
The wives and kids and stuff don't like it, so they don't.
Yeah.
Then I got a friend, my head inspector and really good friend is Dale Schaefer. He basically lives on an elk ranch, so he shoots 3 to 6 elk a year, and you know how big an elk is. He's just constantly giving the meat away because you can't eat it fast enough.
So speaking of your crew, how did you come up with your crew for Stirring Dirt?
Most of us were drivers together, to be honest with you. Then as they retired and got older, they still wanted to be involved, and they became inspectors. Or Red's the best dirt man out there, and he's been doing my dirt for 16 years, I think. I don't even worry about the arena with the exception of Vegas, but that's a whole different animal with what that turned out to be. But we like them hard and fast, and it's different out here because we're in horse arenas. You guys are on racetracks, correct? Mostly. Yeah. So we're in sandy clay, very loose, doesn't hold a lot of water. So to get it to pack is an art form. But we're also in horse arenas where they're running, $100,000 stallions and stuff. So we have to be very mindful of metal and, parts and everything. So those guys, I got a crew that just does dirt work, skiddy work, emptying the arena, setting it up, tearing it down. Then I've got the other side of crew does all the inspections. Then my wife and her girlfriend and my daughter, they do registrations and all that stuff. And I got another crew that does shirts and stuff like that. So it's a process. I think a lot of people think we show up on Saturday and do our thing and go home and pocket $1 million. And I'm like, yeah, no. 2024 started. I took 30 days off. Our last show was October 12th. Took 30 days off and started 2024.
So how did you guys pick your inspection crew?
We tried to get guys that know a little bit of everything, guys that are good at new cars, guys that are good at old cars, guys that have built, obviously. Dale is old school, old GM, Mopar, Chrysler. Will is more, he's done all that and he builds all that, but he's built the newer cars, the 80s, the newer stuff. So those two bounce ideas off each other. Our inspection line is a little different than most. We got 4 guys, so we'll do 4 guys. 2 do the top, and nothing but the top, and that's what they're responsible for. And then Dale and Will do the bottom side, and that's all they're responsible for. If one has a question, top side or bottom side, we kind of group together. If you're going to run our show and you have a question, you need to send me pictures and your question, and then I share it to all of the techs. So you might not get an answer for 24 hours. Because we all talk about it, we all look at it, we make the decision. Well, Dale makes the final decision. We all input instead of you showing up and go, well, Jonny said I could do it. Well, you never get that at our shows because we talk to each other, so we're aware that Jonny said that. So that the communication is very thorough within our group. I've gone bigger. And it just seems being more efficient with less guys is better. that's probably the most stressful time for me is pushing, Dixie. We're going to have, if every car shows up, we'll have 70 cars and we have to inspect those all in 2 days. Oh, turn it off, please. Just turn it off. Sorry, I was cooking dinner and it's burning.
You're all good.
It's a good group. We talk, we fight, we do all that, and we try and do it all internally. It doesn't always work that way, but we try and keep everything internal. But we're brothers, and that's how brothers act. I can tell you to go to hell tomorrow, and then we'll hug when we leave, and that's how we like to handle it. The passion between all of them is probably, and you say it at the drivers, the passion at the ramp is just as big, and that's where if we have issues, that's because I believe in what I'm saying. I have to realize it's just not me saying it, though. I got to listen to the other 4 guys and say, well, yeah. Actually, a great example is so Brad Bowman, who runs the Heber show, he started a new class last year, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to steal someone else's idea for a change. So I called him and says, I want to take your rules for this new class, and it's old iron wire, basically. You've done it for 2 years. I'm going to steal it, and I'm going to do it. Can I see your rules? Do you mind if we work together and talk about it? And he sent me his rules over, and I read through them, and I went, well, because it's one thing over 23 years, we've learned that the word and, the word or, the word but have to be the right spot. And I'm just going, they're a good set of rules. I says, Brad, did you realize that, this one contradicts this one, or this word is this and this thing? He says, no, I didn't. So I gave him my philosophy or my ideas and gave it to him. Totally different promoter. We don't work together. We don't do anything, but we have the same drivers. He says, if you're going to run them, I want to run the same rules you're running. So I'm on the same page, and I want to know how you're going to call things. So I gave him all my input, and he sent it back. He says, these are all great ideas. And, he used 90% of them, changed a few things and sent it back to me. And then I just looked at it again, and I found it was just a different set of eyes. So I guess what I'm getting at is the philosophy of the tech crew. You really have to be mindful and just say, I understand what the rule says. Then there's what the driver did, right? If it's not black and white and there's a gray, then the 4 of us get together and say, okay, why is it gray? What's your input? And as the inspector, you have to be able to give your input, step back and walk away, and leave it up to Dale, the head inspector. He's got, all of his input, and he's the one that makes the big money, so he's the one that's got to make the final call at the end of the day. So it's not, you can't be so passionate that you don't hear, just like, well, you're not married, so it's just like being married. You better listen before you react and talk to your wife, right? Kind of the same thing. Speak your mind, but it's how you say it and how you do it.
So that's pretty much exactly. So for the Smith Metalworks Expo, I'm the head guy for the compact side of it. And that's pretty much exactly how me and Frankie did everything. He sent me a set of rules, and I was reading them, and the same thing you were saying with the ands and the ors and the buts. Because, when I'm reading a set of rules, I'm running through ChatGPT, AI, I'm finding every open area I could possibly find. So doing that to a set of rules that I'm writing, it's very, very, very aggravating and stressful. But then go ahead.
The other thing you think about is what you're thinking here doesn't transpose to what you want to write. It sounds good. Then you write it and you go, done. And then someone else reads it and goes, what the hell are you talking about? So it's when we first started writing the rules, way back when and doing all that stuff, it was like, this is what I want the end product to be. Don't listen to what I'm saying. Hear what I'm thinking. doesn't work that way. It's
And like,
so yeah. It doesn't matter if you're using Chat GPT and all that stuff and Word Perfect, and it's still at the end of the day you need many eyes looking at it and reading it and understanding it to get it right. Our rules are pretty solid. I would say 95% of the questions we get, we can literally copy paste this rule and say, what is it you don't understand? It's pretty, cut and dry here.
Like that's exactly what I did when we were building them rules. Is I basically made a list of all the top compact people I know from around the country, and I sent the rules to them before we allowed them out. And everybody basically said they couldn't figure out anything wrong with them, which granted you, that's probably, we might find something later on down the road, but so far we've been doing pretty good.
And they always will. I think the biggest thing that challenges rules is technology. I think one of the first things that we put out was like one of the new technologies, not now, but back then, a 3-bar tranny brace. You know what that is? It's one that's just the ring on the tranny, and it's got 3 bars coming down to the tail shaft, right?
Yep.
That's what the rule was written for. Well, what do tranny braces look like now? Completely above and beyond what we ever imagined it would be. So I say, the technology, the guys are inventing stuff faster than we can write rules. I just wrote the rules. They're out. December 1st, they're printed and out. They're already outdated. It's just a matter of the way it is. So
do you guys often change your rule set?
No,
often? You don't?
No. We've been at the same rule set for, I think this is our 5th year now. If anything, we either get rid of stuff because it's like, why are we inspecting that? Because we want to make our jobs easier. Why that 4-inch weld and that washer doesn't make a hill of beans different to the end of a derby. And if you feel you got away with something and I don't care about it, why am I inspecting it? Right. So exactly. We simplify a lot of stuff. The parameters are there to keep you in check. That's really what rules are going to do, is keep you in check. Then you have the other side of it is we what was one last year? So a guy had a tranny cross brace, and it was we allow a 2x2 square tube. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you do, instead of the factory one.
Yep. And
he put it on, and our rule says it has to be within so many inches on the frame, blah blah blah. Well, he cheated it up, and he put it underneath his tranny pan instead of where it mounts on the tranny. So I have to add a rule this year and go, all right, cross brace has to be in the stock position on the transmission. There's stupid things like that we add just because somebody thought outside the box that really gave him an advantage, because it gave him a big advantage the way he did it. But most of the stuff where we pull out, we don't change, or we just pull it out. Or again, as many times as you write it, that and's in the wrong spot, and you just got to switch it to a but. And so there's some things there and there. But for the most part, I think we had 7 changes this year, and most of them were deletions. I think it was 5 deletions and 2 add-ons. Or sometimes new technology is good, and we allow it.
So why do you think a lot of these promoters, they just change their rules so frequently? Like, I'll just use
car count.
Go ahead.
Car count. They're trying to appease the driver to get the car count. So if I got 10 cars this year, what can I do to get 20 cars next year? Well, latest thing is everybody wants this new part. we'll make that legal. Even though no one else allows it, we'll make it legal. And we see that all the time. Someone wanted us to change our bracket weld is 10 inches from the end of the frame back on the bumper. So you need to go 18 inches. I'm like, we would be the only promoter doing that. And then we're talking Montana, Wyoming, all the states. So it doesn't make sense because those guys won't come here anymore if that's back to the whole philosophy. If I build a car for you that I can't run somewhere else, if you come do a 10-inch bumper bracket and your home state does an 18-inch, it's easy for you to add 8 inches. It's a hell of a lot easier than cutting off 8 inches.
Oh, for sure. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you, I have this habit of building cars for shows that I can only really run once. I don't know what it is, but like for some reason this year I had 3 cars that I had to basically decimate just to run them, but you'll have that. That
was kind of one of the reasons I started, we started promoting back in the day, was just to pay for the hobby. We lost a lot of money in the first 5-6 years, but the only thing it paid for was paid for cars, paid for steel, paid for, parts and stuff that we got to do. And that's really all Sterndert was designed to do, was just to keep it out of our personal pocket.
I get that. So, like going back to that, like, so this for Dead Man this year, I built a car fresh for there in the fall. Their rules are completely different from everything else. Like for Dead Man, you're allowed to cut the entire front core support mount off, which nowhere else allows you to do that. Like you get to cut in front of it, but you get to cut behind the mount. So it's like super, super short. Like I took a pre-ran car to the same show last year. Luckily, the car was kind of pre-ran, so I took it up there to Turkey Derby, which I don't know if you know anything about Turkey Derby, but Turkey Derby is basically like, come on, run.
Yep. That's our Halloween Havoc Derby. It's a run what you brung, you finish it off so you can build something new.
Exactly. And that was the only place I could run that car at. So now I have this fresh car with literally nowhere to take it, which hopefully they have the class next year and they don't change that.
And that's kind of how we do our cleanup show at the end of the year, because our October that says 140 cars is just stupid to me. But it's a party for us. We do a big, we feed 650 people. We do a big pig roast.
Oh, sweet.
It just, more people come for that than the Derby's kind of like, oh, we get all this and we get the Derby? Great. Because it's a one and done show, $5,000 a heat.
So was
11 heats.
I saw this thing on Facebook when I was just messing around the other day. Is that the same place you had that like school bus thing going on there with like the?
Oh yeah.
So
that was fun. The school bus was fun.
What can you tell me about that? Because I saw that and I didn't know what to think.
You know WWE wrestling.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So, as a promoter, when you're under contract, your job is to do what?
Entertain.
Car counts aren't great, right?
Yeah.
I was paying $5,000 to a heat to mini cars for a filler heat, or trucks or whatever it was, and we were only getting 4 or 5, 6 mini cars. I have a hard time paying that kind of money for 4 or 5 guys. Not that they don't deserve it because they showed up, don't get me wrong, but hey, give me 10, 12 guys,
I know exactly what you're saying.
So I've got a really good friend. He's redneck as hell, lives down the street. And we were just messing around one day, and I said, if I give you $5,000, can you do me a filler heat? He goes, sure. Come and check for $5,000. So what are you gonna do? He says, don't worry about it. I'm like, that's not a good omen.
It's not how it's supposed to go. What are you talking about?
He goes, and he's just subtle. He just called me, bought a school bus. Yeah, what are you doing with it? Don't worry about it. Like, I'm like, son of a bitch. So I never even saw it until it showed up to the first show. And did you see a good picture? Did you ever see the video on it?
I saw the video of it. I didn't see the pictures of it.
So he made basically a Mad Max, you know,
I had a car.
war. He called it the War Wagon. And he goes, I said, well, what the hell are you going to do with that? We can't even turn that sumbitch around in the arena. He goes, don't worry about it. Like, whatever. So he pulls in with that, and he pulls in, and then he follows it up, and he brings in 6 mini cars. But they're not mini cars. These are cars his kids and his friends. Again, WWE. He built them. They made them Pac-Mans and Pokemons or whatever. And he says, just do a mini car heat. I'm like, all right. So I announce it. Here comes the mini cars. They come in, and they're just kind of not even derby, and they're just kind of
just like
bumping around, bopping around. And he goes, all right, stand aside. And he fires up that wagon, and he comes in, and he starts he's not T-boning. He's just like pushing them left, pushing them right. And they're just chicken pecking them all over, trying to take them out. Kids are going freaking nuts. Crowd's going crazy. And that's all it was. It was all staged. It was all put together. And we ran those same 5 cars, 6 cars, and the bus, and 7 shows. And I gave him $5,000 a show. There you go. There's $5,000. I don't care. So he pocketed a good chunk of change to keep things running and get everything over there. And at the end of the day, I had hardcore drivers going, that is the stupidest goddamn thing I've ever seen. I'm like, but you need 30 minutes to fix your car. What do you care? Right? Well, exactly. I just gave you 30 minutes. And then from my side, I didn't have to inspect another set of cars. He just shows up. I say, you're running in heat 4. He lines up heat 4, does his thing, loads up, goes home, goes to the next show.
So is that still a thing happening like recently, or how?
No, well, that kind of ran its course. Then we tried the next year. We bought, mail truck. Mailman.
Yeah.
We bought 6 of those, or no, actually, we bought 8 of them. 1970s. They were old ice cream trucks or something. But we had to get 8 of them to get 4 or 5 of them to even run. We built miniature trailers, and you know what a trailer race is. So we did mini mail truck trailer races in the Derby. And then on the last show, they just derbied them out and totaled them, and that was fun. And then the next year didn't turn out so good. We did half cars. I know you guys have done half cars back there, where they cut them in half and you only run front wheel drive.
Oh,
there's nothing in the back.
Yep.
At that point, it was kind of the COVID year stuff, and mini cars just, you saw it. Mini cars went from $300-400 to $1,500, and you couldn't get anything because nobody was selling them because they needed to drive them because there was no cars to buy. And so that was our last one.
Price of a Camry went from being $500 to $1,000 in a matter of a
month. Well, it's more than that out here, so it's crazy.
How bad are the price of cars out there?
The full size cars are just like back east because most of the back east guys are buying them, so they've driven up the prices out here. But for like the 80s and newer, the Vics and all that, you can still get them for $500 to $1,000. But the W bodies and Camrys and stuff, they're in the same price range where they used to be $250. Now they're $800 to $1,500. So it's it's a sign of the times, and you guys don't have them very much out there, so you're taking trailer loads from out here back there, and
yeah. People making a living off of that,
Oh, yeah. There's
more power to it. My problem is, I tried that, but my problem is I'll buy a car and then after it sits there, I was like, I don't really want to sell that, it makes more logical sense to just keep it, it doesn't make sense to try to get rid of it.
You didn't live in the good old days, so we have 400 cars. And we're talking 400 Impalas, wagons, Buicks, you know, and we never drove any of them because we could find one for the next weekend a lot easier than it was to go to the yard and try and dig one out. That's pretty sad.
God, dude, I swear I was born in the wrong era. I swear, like, I swear, it's terrible.
The good news is I only got 30 left, so.
Only 30, and let me guess, they're all sitting in some field. Are they propped up on tires at least?
No, they all got tires. I don't store them without tires.
God, I was in the wrong era. What the?
Yeah, I think all we have left is I think we have one Impala, 10 or 15 limiteds, and then 8-10 wagons, bunch of Cadillacs.
Just casually, you only got like 8-10 wagons.
Yeah.
Just a few Cadillacs. I love it. So out there, like, is it more old iron or like is it new styles are coming in hot and heavy?
Old iron. No, the 80s a newer class. 80s a newer wire class brought in a lot of the newer stuff, but it's still predominantly old. One of the things you notice back east is they're either running Vicks or wagons. That's kind of the big thing.
Pretty much.
Out here, you still have every make and model from the 60s on up that you'll still see coming out of the woodwork.
Dude, that's unheard of around here.
Yeah, we just started this new old iron wire class. What it's going to help is it's going to bring the Shocker New Yorkers back out and the Y framers. And
you guys still got those?
Oh yeah, because nobody runs them.
True.
Those are. I just bought 30 of them. So.
You just bought 30?
Yep, just to turn around and sell for this class because I know everyone's going to need them.
All right, great idea. So, what? That was that Bowman. That was his class idea, correct?
Yeah.
So, why do you think that the cars are all still they're all still available out there?
I would say over the last 6 to 8 years, this was Mopar country in the beginning. Nothing but Mopar. Then in the last 6 to 7, 8 years, it's switched over to GM, mostly Cadillacs. Probably Caddies and the newer stuff, the Fords and the So that left a lot of the New Yorkers and stuff sitting in fields, and this new class is going to bring them out because it's a Shocker New Yorker is going to be a hell of a lot stronger than a GM on a straight up wire it together class. It's just the way they're built, and that's how it was back in the day. They were good until they went. Once they went to shit fast. But until they went to shit, they were a hell of a car. The GM was able to take the damage and keep rolling a lot longer than the Mopars, mostly because of the suspension that was underneath them.
So, are you? What's your favorite car? Are you like a GM wagon guy, like Gumby, or like?
I told you earlier. Gumby's a wagon. I'm a 74. I'm a Buick guy. I love my Buick Limiteds. That's what I got.
So, what makes you like Buick so much?
I don't know. I think it was, like I said, the first car I ever had with my wife was a 75 Buick. And when I worked for Burger King in the beginning, I was a district manager. So I drove all over the state, going store to store to store.
Yeah.
Well, I'd get my work done, 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. What are you going to do when you're in the middle of nowhere driving home? Exactly. Every back road, farm, everything. I'm driving and I didn't know shit. I literally knew nothing. And I'd pull up to a field and I'd call, again, my best friend at the time. Said, hey, I just found these cars in this field. There's like this thing that's got like a bird on it. Imperial. I think it's a Monte Carlo or a Malibu and, an Impala. And he's like, great. Says, you take the Malibu and the Monte Carlo, and I'll take the other ones. No problem. I cut the deal, and he'd get the good stuff. I take the Malibu and the Monte Carlo. Well, after driving nothing but Malibus and Monte Carlos for 2 years, I started beating everybody because when it's the only car you run, you know how to fix them, and you know how they bend, and you know how to do all that stuff. And then I started, learning about cars and what was good and what was bad, and I started. Back then, again, this was Mopar State, so finding Buicks and Impalas was not a problem because nobody wanted them. And once me and Gumby hooked up, we just started stockpiling cars, and the rest is history.
So, why do you think, when you come out here, every car is flat black? Why is that not the case at all out there?
They still like having fun. Black is for black hides stuff. Black. It hides stuff as a builder, and it also, in the arena, it hides you. It's you blend in a lot better. You drive that bright pink car, you're a big old bullseye sitting in the middle of that arena. So a lot of that has to do with that. That's why you see so many blacks and browns. I just did the 2-man team show, and it's mandatory. You have to be 2 opposite colors, minimum, half and half. Otherwise, I'd have 70 black cars out there, which sucks. By making them have different colors is actually good for them from our standpoint because the timers can see them a lot better. The officials can see them a lot better in the arena, so it's a little more beneficial to you as a driver when the officials and timers can see what's going on.
So I always thought that makes sense because you guys do seem to have a lot more fun out there with Derby than we do. Why don't you think the competition aspect of it that has gotten so much higher around here has basically not increased that much out there? When everybody, it's either we win or we're fighting.
You'll never, I wouldn't say never, but I could probably count on half of one hand how many fights I've seen out here in my 4 years. Huh. It's, I don't know if it's, I don't know. When I get all the guys coming from Nebraska and California and stuff like that, I think that they like. I remember Shea Bob. Shea Bob?
I think so.
Shea Walden?
Yeah.
First time he ever came out, he got drilled in, not in the driver's door or nothing. He was just getting hammered. And he got out and he just puffed up and he was just ready to, and the guy comes over, man, that was so much fun, and shook his hand, and he didn't know what to do. He's just kind of like, whoa, what just happened? And it's more, that's kind of more what goes on out here than anything is, guys leave it in the arena. There's not a lot of, don't get me wrong, there's rivalries and there's bad blood and stuff like that, but you just, the fist fights and stuff, you just don't see that. Even in the pits, it's really hard. I think a lot of that's controlled by us, the promoters too. If you're not letting things get out of hand, then things don't get out of hand.
That's insanity to me because around here, if you go to almost any county fair, somebody wants to fight. I don't know why. It's just a thing that just let's fight. What? No, what?
It's like, why? Why? Like I told you before, he says, I would venture to say 100% of any driver that you drive in our arenas and any of the promoters, 100% of the drivers would give you a transmission if that's what you needed to make sure you made it back out in the arena.
Oh,
because that's really the philosophy. If I'm going to beat you, I want to beat you out there. I'm not going to. There's no reason to go home here. I want to go home. I don't want to go to a hospital.
Oh, for sure. So this past year, we went up to a show in Indiana, and it was me against it was 2 nights. The second night, it was me and Petro's, Brett Petro and Paul Petro.
Yeah, yeah.
It was me.
They've driven out here.
It was me, Brett Petro, and their buddy Chandler. We went out there, and that was one of them shows that you go to, and it's just like, this ain't good. Like, from the moment you get there, you're getting eyed up. People are just like, nobody's taking their eyes off you. You go through inspection. I had the drivers, not the inspectors, the drivers bring the inspectors a list that says, if he doesn't cut all this stuff, we're not running. So I was like, oh, all right, I guess we got to cut some stuff. I guess, I don't know. And so we go out there that night, and it is literally us three against like the track. And there's like, I want to say 15, maybe 20, no, probably not, maybe about 15 of us. And that night, like, I've never thought I was going to get beat up at a derby except for that night in the car. Because, like, it was bad. I'm looking over. It's down to top 5. I look to my left. There's like 3 squad cars just rolling on down the side of the truck. I'm like, what is going on right now? What are you guys doing? Why are you the guys that are mad? The people out here should be, we're fighting. What are you doing? Sit down. Go get a Stromboli. Eat some popcorn. We're derbying. Why do you feel the need to fight? I couldn't believe it. It's just going to shows like that. It's just, why am I doing this? It's like it's the adrenaline rush that I'm getting, and I'm not even in the track yet. Like, what is going on? Dude, I couldn't believe it.
It's just, like I said, I don't know if it's because it's more small townish. If it's, he says most of the towns around here aren't very big. Well, and, everybody knows everybody. It's kind of that.
Which I honestly wish Ohio was more like that, because if I go anywhere within a 3-state radius, I know everybody, like I hate that. When I went, like, one of the funnest up in Indiana over there, that was one of the funnest shows I went to because I didn't know anybody. I knew who I went there with, and that was it, But like when we're going to the bash this year for the team class, I know everybody there, which it's not fun. I'm trying to derby. I don't want to. Oh, then he's mad because I hit him in the door. Oh, great. Now we got to deal with this. It's just it's stupid, is what it is. Which
that when we first, so back in the day, because Sterner allowed us to do it because again we used it to help fund the sport, our sport. That's when we started driving, and it was so fun to go to another town and not care. I don't know you. I got no politics. Just me and my 2 buddies just drove up here, and good luck. Just and break out the beer.
So has anything like that changed around there, or is it all the same way?
No, it's still the same way. Still the same way. The money has changed the driving style a bit, a lot, I should say, but it's still, again, there's rivalries and bad blood everywhere, but even those guys leave it in the arena. I mean, it's where it needs to be left. I mean, it's just
like
that's what makes for the the rivalries make for the Mad Dogs.
Exactly. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's been a few times like I get a little heated sometimes, But then, like, before I do something, I'm like, am I really about to cause a scene in front of all these people over something that happened in a derby? And because when you really step back and you analyze it, you're like, what am I doing right now? I'm looking like an idiot. All I'm gonna do is look stupid right now.
You're mature beyond your years.
Like, because I just have a dislikable personality around here, I guess, because I'm kicked out of my own fair, and I didn't even do anything. Like, they banned me from the Facebook page. I didn't even know that was possible, but they did. Which, I mean, I don't know. It's really another really weird thing is we go to all these fairs. The hometown boys, they love to death. When they pull onto the crowd goes nuts. When I go to my hometown fair, I get booed. It makes no sense. I don't understand it at all. It's insane. But I don't know. It's just a really different perspective thing, you know. Which, so for the crowds out there, since it's mainly crowd based out there, is it like, does everybody have like their favorite drivers, or like how do the fans react to the show?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's kind of one of the hardest things to pick out here is a Mad Dog, because it doesn't matter if there's anything that upsets drivers more than anything is they didn't win the Mad Dog, because everybody, I don't care how you drove, everybody thinks they won it. You could make, one hit and blew your transmission, but you think you won the Mad Dog. It's just, so you can't use the crowd, because the crowd does have their favorites. I mean, they follow them. They're just like any other sport. We use, we've tried it all. I mean, we've been around so long. We've tried, we use officials, we've used people, dedicated people, fans. There's just not a good way to call it. There's never going to be a good way to call it.
Which I know exactly what you're saying with everybody. Everybody thinks of the Mad Dog. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. When it comes to sandbagging, I'm up there. Like, I'm not the guy that's going to go out, you look like you're not having a fun day today. Let's make it even worse. Not me at all. I'm the guy over there trying to calculate every move. But, like, on the few occasions that I'm like, you know what? This guy's really making me mad. Let's go do something about it. In my head, when I get out, I'm like, I should have gotten Mad Dog. But then, like, I watched a video and I was like, that must be wrong. Like, it didn't look like that in my head, at least. But I guess I'm wrong. So how many times have you been wrong? How many times have you had the crowd mad at you for picking the wrong Mad Dog?
How many times?
Yeah.
I guess it's subjective, because the hardest thing you try and do is pick the Derby's heat's 15 minutes long. You have to remember the guy in the first 5 minutes that ain't around in the last 5 minutes. And it's hard to do that, because the guy that stands out is when there's 3 or 4 cars left, he turns it up, and then all of a sudden that's the one you remember. He says, yeah, but that guy junked his shit and didn't make it anywhere. But look at the damage. I mean, that's kind of what we look at, is he did that damage to his own car himself. No one else hit him. He did that. That deserves something. So we've been toying with it. Is Mad Dog the right word? I don't know. It's been around for so long. It's hard to crowd favorite, hard luck. It's so in our minds, we still call it a Mad Dog, but we explain at the drivers' meeting. It may not be. It may be that guy that just went ape shit for 2 minutes and junked his stuff in the first 2 minutes of the heat. That may be him. It may not be the guy at the end. And we won't give him out either. If it's not earned, we don't give it out. So that's even, and we tell them that. So, if you're going to drive for the money, this money ain't coming to you. Because we give a lot of money to Mad Dogs. Oh. Our Mad Dog's been $3,000 to win a Mad Dog.
So is there are there certain guys out there that they're just like bred to just be Mad Dogs? Because like around here, like at this last show I ran, Dead Man, there's this guy Paul Hendrickson. Wait, it's either Hendrickson or Hetrickson. Now this guy, like, I never talked to him before. We're going to the heat. I'm sitting there, doing my thing in the heat, as you do. And this guy comes full track, back to back, and I got like kind of a wedge car in the back. He ramps himself. Okay, I'm pulling forward. He's coming 40, rolls himself, and I didn't even know what happened. So I get out of the car, and the next day I'm like driving around the golf car, seeing what's going on. And I go up talking to this guy, and like I'm thinking like this is about to be bad. Like this guy doesn't like me. We're about to have some conflict here. Not at all. I walk up to this guy, happiest guy I've ever seen in my entire life. he was literally so happy to just be Derby.
Yeah, and 99% of the guys out there are like that. It's you get the one bad apple that turns it around, and you just ruins it for everybody, as they say.
Like, I will never forget it. The first, I walk up to him, and I was like, "Are you I said to him, I said, "Are you insane?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "When I looked back and I saw you coming like as fast as you could towards me back to back, I'm thinking there's no way. And then you did it." And he's like, "To be honest with you, I just wanted to see what would happen." What? My mind was blown. I didn't know what to say.
I ran a show back in way long time ago, and I went up there, and it was a I admittedly driver door hit somebody. Okay, knew I did it. Threw up my hands, looked at the official, went, what do you want me to do? And the guy going, hold on. He's in his ear. He's like, hold on. I'm like, go, don't go. Do you want me to pull my flag? Tell me. And he goes, go. So I go full arena, and I ass-ended another car, junked them, and they shut down the feet. Come in there. No, you driver hit. You pulled your flag, or they're all upset over there. I'm like, well, he told me to go, and that is literally I'm talking about. He told me to go, so I went. If he told me to pull my flag, I had to pull it. I did it. I know I did it. And so they shut it down. I go out, and it must have been the grudge match or something, because it was over, and I'm just loading my car, and all the cops and everything come around me, and I'm like, what's going on? Well, we're just making sure you don't want to start no. I'm like, not starting no shit. I'm okay.
So it's about that 10 o'clock mark. Before we get off here, is there any announcements you want to make for Stern Dirt or anything along those lines?
Hey, I will say, let's talk about this. If you like the old iron wire idea, our registration opens on the 30th. 10,000 to win, 5,000, 2,500. Individual Mad Dog for 3,000. B main payout is 5,000, 2,500, 2,500. Every driver the first 30 drivers get 500 for passing inspection. That show is in May, so it's early in the season. Old iron wire, so 79 and older, non-metric. And that's going to be a hell of a show. It's a lot of money, a simple build. I'm expecting that one to blow up the internet or crash the internet also. Hopefully we don't do it this time. That was ugly. I was on vacation trying to catch that damn fish when registration happened, and everything blew up, and I'm like, my first 24 hours on vacation, I'm on the computer like, what do I do? Got me fix it. That guy fix it. Do this. And here in Mexico, so my phone don't work very well. Oh my God, it was a crazy, crazy time. We're also giving away, have you heard of the Schrade motors?
I have.
We're giving away 8 of them this year. Every Derby's getting a Schrade motor to give away. We're actually doing old iron wire at that May show for the youth class, and they're getting their own motor given away to them. So we're giving away, I don't know, what is it, $20-something thousand in Schrade motors, 30, I don't know, whatever. That's a lot of money. And we're also giving away a mini motor. He builds a mini motor, but since the mini cars are only one heat, filler heats, every time they run our show, they get a ticket for the drawing at the end of the year for that motor.
That's awesome. Cool. Well,
pay attention to Stern Dirt. All of our registrations are opening in the next couple weeks for all the shows, and they always fill up. And they're hard to get into because we only take so many cars. It's better to run. Kind of the philosophy we're running is, if you can run for $10,000, how many cars would you get in Ohio?
Well, it depends on the weekend.
But you're going to get.
Oh, you're going to get a lot. Good car count. Yep.
You're going to run against 30 cars.
At least, yeah.
No, that's where we cut it.
Oh.
So you're not going to have to run against 100 cars. We lock it down. 30 cars most shows, 40 cars some shows, but that kind of money for 40 cars.
Huh.
You know, so you have a 1 in 40 chance, not a 1 in 100 chance.
That's awesome, honestly.
So our biggest show which is the state fair. That pays $1,000 to pass inspection. The first 40 cars get $1,000. We give 40 grand away before the Derby starts.
Whew.
Then the prize money after that one is 8,000, 4,000, 2,000 with 2 Mad Dogs at 3,000 each. And then a B main of 4,000, 2,000, and 1,000.
Awesome. So I think that's just about it. Is that, you got anything else?
Yeah, I appreciate you contacting me. I didn't know what to get in for. It was actually fun to not really talk about Stern Dirt and just talk about Derby. So I appreciate that. That was a lot of fun.
Awesome. No problem, man. Thank you for coming on. Thank all you guys for watching.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yep. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Happy New Year's. I was actually, what was burning on the stove is I'm making moonshine for the drivers because they all call me for my moonshine. So I'm going to go back to making moonshine for New Year's.
Fun. Awesome. Thank you guys. Go check them out.
All right, my friend. Be safe. Take care. Have a great holiday.
You too, my man. Thank you for coming on.
You betcha. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye. Let's see here. Mr. Producer, I'll make the best show.